Recording. Yeah, you're right. All right, everybody, welcome to the December 11th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. I'll entertain a motion to open the meeting. Made by Bill, seconded by? By Liz, and we'll start with the vote and serve as attendants. We start with Steve. Aye.
Liz, aye.
Bill, aye. Bill, aye. Second, if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're gonna go a little out of order here. I'm gonna go with, first of all, the public hearing for 0 Mechanic Street, formerly 79 Mechanic Street. Rob, is there a update on that?
Yeah, so they are working on peer review. Well, the peer review hasn't actually commenced yet. I think they're trying to figure out the best mechanism to move forward with their application, is my understanding. So while they're working through that, they're actually looking to continue this out quite a bit. They requested a continuance to March 12th of 2026, and the decision deadline that we have right now for this project is the end of this month. But with this continuance request, they extended the decision deadline to the end of April. So what I would just recommend is a continuance to March 12th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to continue 0 Mechanic Street to March 12th, 2026.
Second? Second by Steve, made by Bill. Yes. We'll take a vote on that, Steve.
Liz, aye.
Bill, aye.
Bill, aye. So it's approved unanimous. All right, that's the first one. If there's anybody in the audience, apologize for the detail. Secondly, why don't we call up Blackstone Street, move to that one. Welcome. And we have a motion to continue the public hearing. Working on this.
I don't think you need, just to open the public hearing, you
Want to vote?
I don't think you need.
I don't think we need to.
You don't need to vote?
Open.
All right. So, it's been a little while. You have a presentation you'd like to, provide?
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I missed your last meeting. I got caught up in the Patriots game, so I forgot all about it. But since that time, we've had the plan reviewed by Bales and Thomas, the planning board's peer reviewer. They provided a report to the planning board. We are at the pleasure of the board whether or not you want to handle hear from the peer reviewer with regard to his comments, or would like us to address the comments ourselves as we go through the presentation. This is the first time that you've had an opportunity to hear from the engineers themselves regarding the proposal to develop Blackstone Street. So it's what you folks prefer. I don't know, have they received the peer review report that from
On the fifth, right?
Yep.
Fifth is the latest.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
latest
yeah.
one. Yep,
but even the one prior to that, wasn't there one prior to that?
there was. This is the second peer review
Right,
letter.
okay, so,
Yep.
yeah, so whatever you decide that you want to do, if you want to have the comment reviewed with the peer reviewer or have us go through them, it's up to you.
Has there been changes to the plans at this point since the last time you presented?
Just the revisions to.
Yeah, the revisions, by the way, my name is Michael Dryden, Senior Project Manager with Allen Engineering. We responded to the latest round of revisions. Actually, let me correct that. These plans are dated 10/31, so this review is based on the 10/31 plan. So you have seen these plans.
Okay, so it's the 10/31 plans, but the comments from Beals and Thomas.
Beals and Thomas
from
reviewed
December
the 10/31.
5th. I would say they're probably not all incorporated.
Yeah, I think Mr. Chair, Tom from Beals and Thomas is on Zoom. It might be helpful to run through the comments and, you know, if the applicant wants to act on any items,
Okay.
you know.
Tom, we'll give you the floor, we could do that.
Sure.
Your documents, please.
Yes, so my name's Tom Mikulak, civil engineer with Beals and Thomas, and we can jump right into the letter here. So I'll be looking at the December 5th letter. So as noted, we saw one revised plan, so some of these comments have since been addressed. But you know, we can start just at number 1 here. We just requested a sediment and erosion control plan. A SWIP will be required, so no further comment on that one. The next comment, there's a waiver request for depicting trees 12 inches and larger. I believe that was recently submitted. We haven't reviewed it yet, but it's our understanding that it has been submitted. So that'll be reviewed at a later date. And obviously, Mike, Lou, if you guys want to jump in here, feel free, but I can continue along. We also note number 3, like the comment here, it seems like the procedural rules tend to default back to the subdivision rules and regs, even though this isn't being submitted as a subdivision. So that was our initial comment, is to really, you know, ensure that there are plantings in accordance with the subdivision regs, because that's how the procedural rules appear to be drafted. You know, number 4, we just requested meets and bounds for the easements, and those have since been provided for the proposed easements, the drainage easements, I should say. You know, the number 5, we talk about the timing and schedule of construction. Those items were added to the plans, general construction sequencing and order of operations. O&M plan for number 6. A standalone plan was provided, but we did note that there were some discrepancies between the standalone O&M plan and then within the report for standard number 9. You know, that's the standard that requires the O&M plan. So that's just something that they'll have to rectify, take care of those discrepancies.
We acknowledge that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Now, number 7, so for new development, the procedural rules require 90% TSS removal for stormwater. That's above and beyond the Mass DEP requirement of 80%. The system that they're proposing removes 85%, so it certainly meets the state guideline, but not the local regulation. So I guess we're deferring to the board whether or not the 85% is adequate in light of that. And the second part of that is just for phosphorus removal, and they've demonstrated compliance with that for 60% removal for the phosphorus. Number 8, we just had a comment on the storms, and they've since addressed that, and they basically used the larger storm for the 100-year. So we're satisfied with that. Number 9, I know that we made the initial comment just regarding like the way that the local regulation is written for like rational calculations for the culvert sizing. They provided like a hydrologic model. And I guess we understand that for a culvert that's seeing like a lot of flow through a woodland, it's a little bit more complex. So would be willing to go along with the modeling that they proposed for the culvert itself. But, you know, I guess would defer, assuming there's precedent in town, because that seems to be the case. And I know there are a couple of other comments that speak to it. So that might not be exactly what we get into for number 9, because this was more for like the MassDOT requirement. But we'll discuss those comments. But just getting back to this comment, like this culvert wouldn't apply, or the MassDOT standards wouldn't generally apply to this culvert because it's not large enough, not a large enough span. So that being said, like it wouldn't meet the freeboard requirement either, because I believe 2 foot of freeboard is required. The culvert itself is only 2 feet high. So that was really the basis of our response in this latest peer review. So it's one of those items where the local regulation is looking to apply like the MassDOT standard, but generally speaking, it wouldn't be applicable to this, but would certainly be open to discussion on this item.
We concur that it wouldn't be applicable in this case.
Okay.
And we also concur that, I mean, you said it here best, I think, Tom, given the complexity of the tributary watershed in terms of how the culvert was sized, I think it sounds like you're in agreement with that too, generally.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there's anything we really need to address here, but we certainly agree with Tom.
Okay. And so that takes care of the procedural rules section. Now moving on to the stormwater management section. A lot of these were addressed. No further comment for number 1. The initial comment for number 2 was just that it's not, you don't always see like the wetlands being included in the hydrologic model, but just going back to the culvert, they basically have a comprehensive model for everything. So it makes sense to include the wetlands if it's modeling what's flowing to that culvert, because it is a comprehensive model to not only like figure out the peak rates to the design points, but also to size that culvert. So we don't necessarily take issue with how that's modeled in this latest go around, just given that fact that the wetlands have to be modeled to design that culvert. Number 3, now this is one where, just getting back to for the culvert, we've agreed that they don't necessarily need to use the rational method, but we do feel that it's appropriate for like your standard catch basin to manhole pipe sizing. It's more finite areas of impervious, and the rational method just provides that instantaneous flow rate to these inlets and then the subsequent pipe network. And that really is the industry standard. I mean, that's certainly how we would design like our stormwater pipe network. So that one, I think we are, it's not the same as sizing the culvert per se.
I agree, Tom. We don't really take issue. We'll certainly address it accordingly.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree with you. We'll proceed accordingly.
Okay, thank you. So now if we get to number 4, yeah, I think this was addressed. It was just a matter of, I think in the summary sheet, like the peak rates were double counted. One of the design points was like an interim design point that flows to the final design point, and I think those 2 were totaled. They shouldn't necessarily be totaled, and we can figure this out. And I don't know if any of this is beneficial, like to have like a discussion offline, or if the board would be open to that, just to work through these comments. But we can certainly discuss them here.
So far, so good, Tom. I think there may be 1, if not 2, that I'd like to discuss with you offline if possible, but for the most part, we're in complete agreement with you. So.
Okay, great. So number 5, yeah, so that one was addressed, just T sub C, flow paths, and just making sure those are accurate in the model. Now this is one where, like, the way that these were modeled in number 6, the basins. So the infiltration basins have a forebay in the model. They're designed in series, or modeled in series, I should say. So the flow flows to the forebay, which is its own storage volume, and then subsequently flows to like the primary basin storage volume. I was just having issues reconciling like the areas, because I understand what you're doing. You're basically counting like whatever that volume is of the forebay, and then once that forebay fills up, then you can use the rest of the basin for storage. I was just having trouble with some of those contour elevations at the respective stages to calculate the incremental storage volumes. I just wasn't coming up with the same numbers. So this is one where I think I would like to at least discuss, or just to at least get a better idea of where you were going with the model. And then I guess the other point for this one is just like the gabion, like stone gabion that creates the forebay wall. like in our experience, I mean, that's like a trap rock type of thing. There's a lot of voids. I don't necessarily know that it would fill up. I don't necessarily know that once water hits that, it will be contained to the forebay and then fill up and crest over. I think it'll just want to migrate through the voids. You know, and it will certainly dissipate some of the velocity, but it won't necessarily provide, you know, its own separate volume. So that was, I guess, the other point as far as like how these are modeled.
Yeah, I think that comes up a couple of times, Tom. We've been using that system for years, actually, in dozens of projects, but I'm open to working with you to come up with something that, you know, we can mutually agree upon.
Okay, no, that's fair. And I mean, like I said, certainly it's going to do something. I just feel that it's not impervious, is my point. It's not going to fill up like a little bathtub of a forebay before it tops over, or at least I wouldn't think so, based on what the materials consist of. But yeah, we can certainly discuss that, work through that one.
Okay.
Yeah, number 7, just another one with the hydraulic modeling as far as rational method.
Yep. Okay with that.
Yep. Number 8, fill slope. So it was just a matter of correcting that per the local regulation. I mean, 3-to-1 is what we would generally use, but yeah, I mean, the local reg is 4-to-1. So that was corrected. Number 9 and 10, those were both addressed. Number 11, O&M plan, that was also addressed, the costs. Yeah. So yeah, this one, no further comment. I mean, we understand it's based on like the observed, well, not observed, I'm sorry, like the indicators. So you're looking for redox, so it doesn't really matter the time of year, but it's just something we noted because it was in their regulation. Now, number 13, I know this also comes up a couple times in different ways. So this basin from the berm to the bottom of the basin certainly exceeds 5 feet. You've demonstrated for the 100-year storm, it's not going to exceed 5 feet. We just given that these basins are wholly dependent on exfiltration, you know, not to be negative, but like if there were to be a failure, like these things would just fill up all the way to the spillway, and that's the spirit of some of the other comments that we'll get into later. But that was just generally what we were trying to get at here, is that this basin, if the basin weren't to draw down in the adequate amount of time, then it might exceed 5 feet. But we can certainly discuss that as we get into the other comments.
Yeah, Tom, if I could, I know that you've only become a peer reviewer here in Bellingham recently, but this is very consistent with all the projects we've brought through town, and I'm not discrediting your comment by any means. We can work through it, but it'd be important for you to know that it's very consistent with all the projects that we've permitted through the town of Bellingham.
Okay, well, if there's precedent, then we can certainly work through things. It was just, and I mean, the soil testing certainly indicated that there are good soils out there. So it's one of these situations where certainly the model works, the design works. It's just like to have these other measures in place for some layers. But we can discuss the other comments when we get to them.
Okay.
So yeah, the boundary. So yeah, number 15 that was addressed. And then number 14 before that for the swales, that detail was added as well for a short section of swale that's proposed. Number 16, those supporting calcs were added to the report. Number 17, the checklist was updated or revised. Now number 18, this is another one where I know, like, I don't think it's an issue because I believe that you do have the 1-inch water quality volume and you have the 44% pretreatment, but the initial comment was just about the just checking the box for the trigger of rapidly infiltrating soils. But I think it's a moot point, just given the design.
I would agree.
So now getting to the wetland regulations section. And some of these are obviously duplicated from the Concom review, but we'll go through them here for the benefit of the board. So number 1, the testing. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty clear that Basin 3 was added after the fact. So that info has been added, the testing info. Now, number 2. So this is one where, and I know that like the basins have been, these are the types of basins you've proposed in town before. But like, I guess my interpretation of the regulation is that if it's in failure, like this whole thing is like brimming with water. So it doesn't matter like if the 100-year reaches it or not. If there are subsequent or if there are consecutive storms, this would theoretically raise the water level surface would basically be at the spillway elevation. So the way I interpret that regulation is just the geometry of the spillway. If you route whatever flow is routed to the basin, if you route that through the spillway, just ensure that there's 6 inches of freeboard to the top of the berm. So I think that you guys have those proposed, with 1 foot from the crest elevation to the top
Right.
of berm. So basically just ensure that the flow depth doesn't exceed 6 inches. So you have that other 6 inches minimum of freeboard, which not say you don't have it, just to document compliance, to just route whatever flow.
Yeah, we can look into this one a little bit.
Yep.
I tend to disagree a little bit about the interpretation, but it's not a deal breaker, so I don't.
Okay.
Getting
Fair
into
enough.
the weeds, if you will.
And this first comment, general engineering comment, touches on some of the other comments that we have as far as like general safety, understanding this wasn't submitted as a subdivision roadway. I referred to other sections of the procedural rules that do specifically refer to the subdivision regs. But then also, I think just given it's going to be a public road, we feel that like some of these items ought to basically meet subdivision road standards. So that's really what comment 1 was in regards to. I think there's a longitudinal slope proposed of 10%. Subdivision regs call out 8% max. So it's just one of these ones where we defer to the board on.
Through the chair. So first of all, you mentioned public road. This is intended to be a private road. And that may not have been abundantly clear in the initial application, but that is the intent here. And secondly, as I think I may have stated in the response, we obviously have an existing right of way, and the constraints that we're dealing with, it's already close to 10%. We might be able to lessen that grade, 0.5% or something. But we're dealing with the constraints that are there. And so we've capped it at 10%. We consciously did not want to exceed 10%. For fire access reasons, things of that nature. And 10% is generally considered a max grade for a roadway in many communities. It may not be in this one under your subdivision rules and regs, but in many communities, 10% is the max. So that's, we made an effort not to exceed 10 for those reasons.
Rob, that was a public safety issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know that was noted. We can get back to that, and I think we can talk about the public versus private thing too, because I'm glad you're clarifying it now, but we'll continue with the peer review comments.
And just one last thing, and I know we'll circle back to it on the grade, but if you look at the plans, it's only about 250 feet that we're at that grade. So it's not an extensive, section of the roadway that's at 10%. So.
Okay. Number 2, similar type of comments. Subdivision would require sidewalks. I mean, regardless, I'd expect there to be some pedestrian traffic. I mean, maybe not a lot, but just given, and I think your response even was that like it necks down at the wetland. But yeah, I mean, that was just another comment that we thought that maybe ought to be a sidewalk there just for public safety and just to keep people out of the traveled way. So moving on to number 3, similar to number 1, just talking about the roadway geometry. Once again, the K values are pretty close or seem to line up with 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. The sag curve, I think, could be adjusted a little bit to meet that. I think currently as is, it's maybe a few miles per hour less than 25. So I don't know, Mike, if that's something where you could make like the compromise and stretch it out. I don't know,
Absolutely. No problem at all.
20 feet. I think
Yeah, I can tweak those.
Yep. 20 feet on either side, I think, would do it, lengthen that. So number 4, talk about the retaining wall at the wetland crossing and fill area. Understanding you're trying to limit your impacts, but just ensuring that there's adequate room there, and your response addressed that. You guys added a little bit more width, and I know these block walls, they don't need a whole lot of room, especially a wall of this height. So just really, I think we made a comment here to recommend the condition to ensure that these things are staked out and there aren't going to be additional wetland impacts. Obviously, the Concom would be more concerned with that, but just worth mentioning here.
Right, through the chair. We actually described it to the commission exactly as Tom wrote his comment. We told them that we would, of course, go out via survey and locate erosion controls and have it installed and inspected prior to any construction. So we're all on the same page there, certainly.
The plans reflected going forward with the narrative. You're gonna comply with what the Concom's asking.
Yes.
Have you documented that to them?
Well, we'll do it in this response to the planning board, and we'll do the same to the commission.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so number 5 was just noting the existing culvert out there that was since located and depicted on the plan, so that was addressed. Now, number 6, this is one where, I mean, understanding that you definitely need the sediment control barrier, like where you're up against the resource area, or if you're in a buffer zone. I mean, we don't necessarily agree that if you're far removed from a resource area or buffer zone, you don't necessarily need it, because I don't think you want to be transporting sediment into areas to remain undisturbed. So, I mean, the initial comment was made to just really try and, keep all the sediment tight to the development area and don't let it migrate off into the woodland areas, whether or not it's in the jurisdictional area. Number 7, this one was clarified. I think we just noted, it looked like that the slope was a little bit off. I mean, not an issue at this stage, but certainly down the line when things are being built, just to ensure, like all the
We will
elevation.
correct that. While we're at it, we'll correct it.
Yep. Well, number 8, this one goes back to that existing culvert. Now, understanding that I believe the existing culvert was blocked up, and this might be more of a Concom type of discussion, because it talks about the vernal pool hydrology or speaks to that. But the current culvert, the proposed culvert is proposed at elevation 294. The existing culvert is noted on a plan to be like a couple 2.5+ feet lower at 291.31.
Right.
So if that existing culvert is going to be abandoned, obviously no water is going to be passing through at that lower elevation. So theoretically, the water will have to reach that 294 elevation before it crests over to discharge. That's our comment here. Our follow-up comment as well was just noting that if that is indeed the case, the vernal pool may flood out a little bit more, or however it works with the hydrology there.
If I could, through the chair, let me just provide a little clarification here, Tom. So that culvert, that 12-inch culvert that exists has been blocked for, I don't know how long, years and years, block solid. So no water was flowing through it. It was recently excavated and opened up and located. But as a result of the back and forth with the commission, that culvert, we essentially are moving forward as if that culvert doesn't exist. So my point is, it's never flowed. So water has never flowed at that elevation. The reason we set the culvert at 294 is because that's where the water from the vernal pool spills over the existing gravel road. So
Okay.
the technology in the vernal pool will function exactly as it does today. Again, that 12-inch pipe will be blocked and ultimately removed as part of this design.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. And that's really, once again, a question for the Concom, like which hydrology are we comparing this to? Because that seems historic. If it's been years and years, and if they're okay with just assuming that it doesn't exist at this point because it's been so long, I'm not one to argue. And I appreciate the clarification on the removal of the culvert, because I think we have another comment in here about like how is it going to be abandoned, or that might have been any other review. But no,
Yeah, I think that was the Concom review.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, and then number 9 is basically just refers back to that previous response.
Right.
Okay, that was addressed. The pipe insulation where the water crosses the culvert, just ensure that frost isn't going to impact it there. So that was addressed. Number 11, one of the pipe slopes seemed high. One of them was just our misinterpretation of the plan. But either way, they've both been addressed, so that's no issue. Yeah, number 12, just a minor item. We talked about extending the gabion. It was extended to one of the one of the contours it should be extended to on one end, but not the other. Another type of constructability type of thing.
Yep, I noticed that. Thank you.
Be tweaked. This one we just requested 100-year surface elevations for the basins be added to the plans. Those were added. And this gets back to 14. We talk about outlet controls, and Mike, based on your previous explanation about this is what you've done in town, we're not. It was just an item we brought up because once again, like a lot of these basins that are infiltration around here, you do see like a low flow orifice. So you basically just retain and infiltrate what you need to retain to meet the recharge requirement. You don't really hold back that whole slug of water and fill the whole thing up. But once again, if it's precedent, if it's what you've done in the past, then it's not necessarily something that we're going to push back on. It was more just an item that, because it's wholly dependent on exfiltration, just trying to mitigate things in the event of a failure or if maintenance is required, so this thing isn't like
Right.
totally burning.
Well, we'll certainly consider it, Tom, because oddly enough, if we do that, it would reduce the size of the basins a bit. So maybe that's something we consider and sort of balance all the pros and cons. And I'm happy to talk with you on that offline too, if that's okay with the planning board, on the few items that we identified.
Okay. Yeah, I think you even speak to it in your response as far as like there's provisions in there. It's not that an outlet control couldn't be added if things change in the future as far as like tributary flows or anything like that. So,
Right.
So this number 15 that was addressed, we just noted that because loam is required on the basin, just make sure that it's a free draining loam. Now, note was added to the plan. Number 16, once again, getting back to the basins, we note here just a condition to just ensure that these things are indeed drawing down, and you're not going to have a situation where certain times of the year there's standing water that's not drawing down within the 72 hours. Once again, all the testing indicates soils are conducive to basins of this size. So, or I should say, infiltrating the depth proposed. So, it's just something to ensure that these things are operating because they're going to be in the middle of the woods for the time being, I guess. And then number 7
to us.
Yeah, then that last one, you guys address that. It's just revising the cross section to accurately reflect the pavement widths and all that. So certainly I'm open to any other questions or discussion.
Rob, do you have any concerns before I ask the board?
Yeah, if you want, maybe I can just
Yeah, go
kind
ahead.
of follow up with my list of items. So thanks, Tom, for the going over the letter, and Mike, thank you for going over just kind of the response and evaluation. One thing I will note, I know there's a lot of the discussions about the potential dewatering of the basins, and if for some reason they're not dewatering within the 72 hours, and I don't know if it's explicitly listed in the report, and we can talk about this between you and Fields and Thomas and myself, the potential for some type of dewatering measure for maintenance of some sorts. Because I know that's actually a standard in the stormwater management. So
It is, I will admit it is. It's one that is rarely incorporated, to be perfectly honest with you.
usually you incorporate it because you have an outlet control structure, but we can talk about that to
Right.
figure out if that would work okay for that. But
Okay.
that's just one item that I just wanted to note from the stormwater side. But I think from some just other items, there were some comments from the fire chief, and I know Lou, you actually submitted materials, I think, tonight, and then I have some for the board for later, but that was obviously can't discuss it tonight. That'll be posted on the website too, what your responses are. Regarding that, I'm glad you mentioned it regarding the roadway public versus private, because I know the initial narrative that Wall Street Development submitted was the intent was for the roadway to become public. And I believe that long-term O and M plan that you submitted also stated that the intent is for the long-term O and M to be a public
Right.
roadway, which, for it to be a public roadway, it requires a town meeting vote, recommendation from planning and DPW, which is tough to contemplate on a road that doesn't meet the subdivision standards. So what I would recommend, and I think you're already alluding to it, is to change and give information on the private operation and maintenance of the roadway.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the sort of train of thought or the mindset has changed since the plans were initially submitted. And partly because of everything we're talking about now, the comments we've received, I think Lewis decided that the private road is more appropriate. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lou.
Yeah, no, well, essentially, we're constructing it with the same standard of construction that your subdivision rules and regulations call for. The things that we're not providing are the things like sidewalks and street trees and other things that are outside of that, what we can provide within the right of way. So my view is that if we're constructing it to the same standard as your subdivision rules and regulations, excluding those things that we typically would request a waiver from. So under the statute, I mean, the board can only apply those regulations to the extent that they're reasonably accommodated on site. So, for example, we only have a 40-foot right of way. You can't provide a 50. We don't have enough room to do a 26-foot wide paved roadway. We only have enough room to do 22. So those are the standards, but in terms of the quality of the work, it's all gonna be done to the town construction standards and regulations, in terms of road profile and cross section. So, but if it has to stay private, we'll keep it private.
Just a quick point of clarification, the 22 feet is what's required in this case for the number of dwellings. So we are providing the proper width, the curbing. I think what Lou's trying to say is the big ticket items, if you will, the roadway width, the curbings, the construction standards, gravel base depth, all those things. But certainly there are items such as the sidewalk and things that Lou mentioned that because of the constraints on this site, don't allow us to fully comply with the subdivision rules and regs.
And for clarification on the width of the roadway, my question is it 22 feet wide throughout the entire length of the
Yes.
roadway? Because I know it was alluded to, and I don't know if it was the previous plan that there was the potential that it was a variable width and might have been reduced at.
Well, the right of way is variable.
Correct.
No, the pavement width is a consistent 22 feet and it's on sheet C10. The cross sections are on that plan. I did see that comment that we didn't provide the width, but it's not labeled on plan view, but it's in the cross sections.
Yeah, my concern was, I know that the right of way is variable width, but it sounded like the roadway initially, I think it was at where the crossing was, the potential that it was reduced from 22 feet down.
I think there may have been some discussion at one point, probably more so with the commission, to reduce impacts, but we kept it at 22 feet.
So that's the answer to my question.
Yeah.
So that's good. The other item regarding, and Lou, I know we've talked about it, the proposed roadway outside of the limits of the abandoned right of way, which in my memo, I took issue with. I know since sending that, we've discussed about what the intent is, and it sounds like you want to handle that through easements, correct? So what I think would be very beneficial is if you can provide some information on said easements that you want to utilize. More importantly, because of the way that there's a lot of detail on the plans, it would be really nice to see some type of depiction of easements that you're utilizing, like almost like a conceptual 81X plan of some sort.
we can do that.
Because if this is the route that you take and it goes through, you're gonna have to report something with the registry of
Right,
deeds.
that's just, well, you know, the cul-de-sacs are in the right of way, there are gonna be easements on these particular lots, so.
Correct.
a
Well, that's what
temporary-
you're-
Whether it's a temporary cul-de-sac, like what we're doing in the middle of it, or the one that's down at the end of the roadway at the Blackstone Town Line, which is a cul-de-sac, a turnaround easement that will be on a lot. So, those, of course, those will have to be easements depicted on a plan.
Yeah, and it would be nice to have that information
Sure.
because I think on the southern side of and I don't, like I said, the plans are busy. I know the initial plans I think it just called for an easement. It didn't depict exactly what it was. I assume it's a construction easement on the southern side of that right of way. Getting information on that stuff, I think, is gonna help clarify some items. And I would appreciate that
Sure.
in your next submission.
Yeah.
Okay?
What I can do, Rob, is I can add a sheet or two to the set. And it'll just have all the right of way and easement information with clear labels.
I think
Cause
that
there
would,
is a lot of information on the plans.
I think that would be helpful, while you're working through some of these comments. But that's what I have at this time.
Okay, is it, anybody from the board?
Well, I think we have a little bit of homework to do. I looked at, 10, 13 items that we have to get an agreement on. We'll leave it up to, our peer reviewer and Rob, on the final answers. But I think we have some homework to do.
Okay, I think.
And I just want to state,
That's fair.
Thomas, excellent report.
Any other comments from the board?
Well, just echoing what Bill said, yeah. There's more.
Okay,
items to-
I know we got technical, but is there anybody from the audience that has something new that they would like to bring to the discussion? It's okay if, seeing a lot of no, so, okay,
And
all right, folks,
Mr. Chair.
quick hands.
So, can I just say, my name is Pam Little, 192 Lakeshore Drive. My only biggest concern right now is about traffic. So Lou's building another property right off of, what is it, North Street, going into Bellingham Road. So Bellingham Road right now is gonna come down to where he wants to extend the road. So maybe I'm wrong, my biggest concern is the traffic.
I think,
Well, right
It's
now,
not
we're not proposing to connect to Bellingham Road. Because it's been perceived to be a cut through
Oh,
potential.
excuse me, but when you build over here and that road comes down here and it's gonna extend down through us. Down in that, excuse me, guys. Drive. Yeah. Drive. Right, excuse me, but where you're building over here, and if you're gonna build and you extend that road, obviously that traffic is gonna definitely flow.
Okay, if you could keep the comments through the chair, that would be great, I appreciate it.
Sorry,
Please.
sorry.
No, thank you. But Rob, do you have a comment?
yeah, I think just to your point, right now, the plans as proposed has a cul-de-sac at the Bellingham Blackstone line. So there's no connection to Bellingham Road proposed on these plans.
Not yet.
No.
Well, the board can only act on active applications and proposed plans that are in front of them, so.
Yeah.
But that's, a fair point. Yeah.
There was another hand that was raised, so if you could identify yourself.
In Houston, 319 Blackstone Street. So safety is the biggest concern we have for the existing people on Blackstone Street. And one of the latest things we just talked about was 22 feet on a private road without sidewalks. So where I live, it's only 18 feet. And there is a bend in the road where in both directions, you cannot see oncoming traffic. So if you add X amount of houses, whether it's the said 12 or 70 later on down the line, that curb right there cannot accept any extra traffic. And then you come out to Blackstone and North Street, there are accidents there all the time. All that traffic is gonna flow through. The other thing is, I don't see where there's a proposed fire road, because we're obviously adding to the amount of homes that are already there. There would need to be some sort of fire road somewhere for emergency vehicles. So those, I mean, I'll have more comments obviously, but for right now, when I'm hearing 22 feet and where I live is only 18 feet, that just doesn't add up. Thank you.
All right, so we got a couple things still. So right now we're up against the decision deadline.
Yeah.
We're gonna be getting request for extension.
Yeah, so I think it's the end of this month is the
Yeah,
decision
okay.
deadline. So what are you thinking for a continuation date? What are you thinking for a decision
I
deadline?
think once your next meeting, January 15th, right?
Correct. Let me, I'll pull up the meeting schedule right now. If you want, we have,
We're talking about having
You need to go, yeah.
a working session with Rob,
yeah,
Mike, Tom, right? So we're gonna have to plan.
So let's extend the decision date to like March 31st.
okay, and
Continue the meeting until January 14th or 5th, whatever date you guys need in January. And then,
so.
see if we can get plans in,
Sure.
for review by, before then.
So that's gonna be kind of close if you want to do a workshop for them, just saying,
Oh,
and
you mean for January 14th?
yeah, what I would recommend, I know January 14th, I think it's January 15th. Let me get the date first.
Yeah.
Bear with me for 1 second. So January 15th, as of right now, the agenda we have 2 items, actually 3 items. We have the 2 Hartford Ave projects and which is commercial, and then we have NECC that night as well.
Okay.
So if
We don't want to be on that night.
we can accommodate, I'm just saying, but if
No,
you,
we'll go to the 29th. That was your next meeting? would be
yeah,
that
I'm
week?
trying to open up
Yeah,
the,
we don't want to be on that.
bear with me for 1 second. I don't know why this isn't open.
Yeah, we are in the holiday season, so that tends to slow things down a bit. So I think that extra time would.
This time.
I agree. All right, so we'll do the second meeting in January.
Did you just kick me under the table?
Listen, when I heard you're trying to transition into retirement, that's a problem.
You know, we actually, for January, because of the way January 1st falls, which actually I think will work to your benefit, we are meeting the 15th and 22nd
Oh,
is the way that our schedule is.
beautiful.
So January 22nd.
Yeah.
Gives us a little more time. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll take it.
And then, did I hear the decision deadline to March
March
31st?
Yeah.
2026. All right. If I can just get your signature. Yes, sir. Thank you, Lou. Thank you.
No.
All right, so I would recommend making a motion to continue the public hearing to January 22nd, 2026.
Have a second, please.
Okay.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Liz. Clerk will vote, please.
Levi?
Liz, I did.
Bill, I.
Bill, aye. Passes, 4-0. And then,
So,
goes to you
and just a quick question, is this decision a special permit decision or is it just a,
It's development plan.
so what are you calling it? Is it a
Development.
site like,
It's a development plan.
So it's just- so the member not being present tonight is not
No, so it's not a super majority vote, just a majority, and also we do have the what's it, Mullins rule,
Mullins
so.
rule. Just sign papers.
One time, yeah.
Yeah,
It's great. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks
for your time.
Holiday.
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Tom, appreciate
Thank you.
hopping on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
All right, keep
Thank
going.
you.
Have a good Christmas and New Year.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
How are you?
I know. Now it's way too cold to get out.
Okay, but it was, they requested. We don't put it on.
You want me? Public hearing, when we get to the plan.
Can we wait the reading?
Okay.
A residence.
I can.
But I.
No, and I was asking you to.
No, that's okay.
Public hearing, you wanted to get it out. Yeah.
You don't mind, okay. Once we get the meeting back in order, we'll move forward.
Sure. Yeah, no, I gotcha. If you, before the meeting, anyone would recommend reaching out to you in the office, you phone the seller, choose their tax, but we can talk later, I get you know.
Okay,
Okay, so we don't want to jump that way.
okay, so. Yeah, okay, all right.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Take it easy, chief. Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all right. We're gonna move on to 455
I
Hartford
just
Avenue.
invited you.
Hartford Avenue. Steve, could you read the public notice for that, and then we can take a vote on that?
Oh, hold on a minute.
Or do you have that? Well. Oh,
It's a little bit longer. I apologize.
all right.
Thank
You
you.
can be formal. Thank you, Steve.
In accordance with the Town of Bellingham zoning bylaws, 240-16, development plan approval, 240-54, stormwater management, and 240-60, special permit for parking reduction, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, December 11th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Arcan Meeting Room in the Municipal Center located at 10 Mechanic Street, Bellingham, Mass. 02019. The applicant, Darren Properties LLC, provided a plan set entitled 455 Hartford Ave, site plan dated September 26, 2025, prepared by Legacy Engineering LLC. The application proposes the construction of a 7,320 square foot multi-tenant commercial building with associated parking and utilities at 455 Hartford Ave, listed on Assessor's Map as Map 4, Parcel 72. The property is approximately 4.41 acres and is located within the Business 1 and Suburban Zoning Districts, Map 4, Parcel 72. The plans were prepared by Legacy Engineering LLC, 730 Main Street, Suite 2C, Millis, Mass. The application and plans may be viewed at the Planning and Zoning Office or Town Clerk's Office in the Municipal Center, 10 Mechanic Street in Bellingham, Mass. During the regular Municipal Center business hours. For questions, please contact the town planner at 508-657-2893.
Great, and I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing for 455 Hartford Avenue.
So moved.
Made by Steve, seconded by,
I'll second.
seconded by Bill. And we'll start the vote with Steve.
Steve, aye.
Liz, I.
Bill, I.
Bill, aye, so we're 4-0 and we are now open. Welcome, sir. If you could reintroduce yourself and take the floor and introduce what you're trying to do.
Sure. Good evening. Dan American with Legacy Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. So we submitted an application for 455 Hartford Ave. I put the plans up on the board. You may recall that we were here just about a year ago to show you a concept, which is basically the same as what we're proposing right now. So I'll just run through the development here and go through everything for you, and we can answer questions. And then obviously we need to get peer review underway, so we'll be asking for a continuance at the end. So the site is at 455 Hartford Ave. It's about 4.4 acres. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with it. There are some wetlands on the property in the southwest corner and in the southeast side. They're here. They've been previously delineated through the Conservation Commission. What we are proposing to do is to construct a 7,300 odd square foot building here. This is set back a good distance, 200 odd feet from the street. And it will have 4 potential tenant spaces. It could be 1 tenant, it could be 2 tenants, it could be 3 tenants, but it'll, these kinds of buildings are designed to be able to be chopped up into 25-foot widths. So there'll be an overhead door on the back of each section. The front of the building will just have a pedestrian entrance, some landscaping, walkways, and parking. We're proposing a 24-foot wide driveway coming in with a sidewalk along the side of it. That sidewalk will connect to the existing sidewalk on Hartford Ave. The circulation around the building would be clockwise in a one-way direction. So you go around the top of the building, along the back and around, and that would be for the tenants to get at the rear loading doors. Parking is in the front predominantly. There are 3 spaces in the back, but there are 12 spaces in the front. We are asking for a special permit to reduce the required parking from 4 per 1,000 to 2 per 1,000. We don't think the building or the intended use warrants that much parking, and it just results in unnecessary impervious surfaces. So it is worthwhile to note that there is additional room behind the building, behind each tenant's overhead door to park additional cars. So even though there'll be only 15 line spaces, you can very easily park 20 to 25 vehicles along the building, front and back. If a tenant wanted to park, say a van or something out behind their door at night. We are proposing, we held the driveway based on our previous discussions. We held the driveway as far off the northerly lot line as we could. We have a 35-foot, a minimum 35-foot vegetative buffer there. It widens out as you get down towards Hartford Ave. We are proposing 20 evergreen trees along that whole sideline, and then we're also proposing to leave existing vegetation of varying widths along the lot line. It's pretty brushy growth out there, so between those 2 things, it's going to provide a very effective screen between the proposed development and the existing residences to the north of the site. The rear portion of the site is for the most part not going to be disturbed though. Be left in its current condition. We do have 2 light poles. Since we have a reasonably long driveway, we have a light pole here and a light pole here. Full cutoff light fixture, mounting height is only 15 feet. There won't be any light spillage onto adjoining properties. The rest of the lighting is just wall packs on the building. So we have 2 on the front and 2 on the back, none on the sides. And again, those are full cutoff light fixtures. So there won't be any glare or offsite illumination issues. As far as utilities are concerned, we are bringing in municipal water for domestic and fire service. The building will be sprinklered. We have an on-site septic system, which is located in front. Stormwater management consists of 2 surface basins, 1 in the front. These are very shallow stormwater basins. Their total depth is only 2 feet. The maximum water depth is only 1 foot. They are preceded by pre-treatment devices. The front one has a catch basin and a sediment forebay. Back one has sediment forebays. These are pretty typical. We have provided a stormwater report. There's a decrease in the peak rate and total volume of runoff in every design storm, in every direction coming off the property. So we know that's something that your peer review consultant will study carefully. I guess the only thing I would like to finish with is there's 1 waiver request from the subdivision regulations to allow the stormwater basins to be constructed in fill. I This is an issue that came up, I guess, on the prior applications here. The site has shallow groundwater. It's within 2 feet of the surface everywhere. You can't build a stormwater structure that's closer than 2 feet to high groundwater. So it's basically impossible to build a stormwater management system anywhere on the site that is not infill. So what we propose to do is the fill that we bring in will be sand, highly permeable, very good soils. And that's really the only way that this site can be developed for any purpose. So the applicant would like to hear the board's thoughts on that topic, obviously, because that's a crucial matter. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, I'll turn it over to the board. Steve, do you have any?
Just initial question, just curious, what kind of businesses are you looking to have within that building?
We're looking for small service companies, someone that provides services to residences, maybe like a HVAC repair or small plumber or somebody just needs a place to have a little office, a little place to store some materials. And
So it's
that's
not where customers would be going in and
it.
out?
No, we're not anticipating the customers at all, and there's no outside storage of any kind. And we will enshrine that as a condition should the board approve the application.
Just confirming, you're asking for 2 waivers for this, the one for the parking and the one for,
Parking's a special permit,
okay,
it's not a waiver.
got it.
So there's a provision in your bylaw that allows the applicant to apply for a special permit for a reduction in parking, so
Okay.
that's
Alright.
one of the requests.
Thank you.
I have a few comments. You mentioned doors in the backside of the building.
Yes.
Facing towards the neighbors. How are you gonna
Facing-
control noise from those doors? Are they roll-up doors?
They're roll-up doors and they face the river, they don't face the northerly abutters.
In the past, I think there are some neighbors fairly close, correct?
I think it's Chase Street, if I'm not mistaken, that
500 feet away.
it's a significant
Okay.
distance. I do know.
If I
for
remember
the-
correctly, there were some site issues too that they were concerned about. They come to the public hearing. I don't think it was the last application. I think it was 2 applications.
Yeah,
We had a lot of interest, and there seemed to be some concern about the backside of the building and, being able to see it and, a little bit of screening type of thing.
Yeah, that was for the auto
That
repair.
was for the bigger building.
Yeah, the bigger building. I mean,
I would like to see.
we can add some trees back there if you want. It is,
Yeah.
I can give you the distance. I looked at it. It's 500 odd feet, I think.
Can you stop sharing your screen just for one
Yes,
second,
of
Dan?
course.
Because I'll pull up the unmasked mapper.
I
Yes.
just remember it was concern of some neighbors,
Yeah,
going
and
back to the beginning.
that definitely was a concern.
Mm,
And I think part of the issue was that it wasn't really being adequately discussed or addressed during the public hearing on where exactly things stood. So there's Chase Street here on my screen. This is the cul-de-sac. This is the site, 455 Hartford Ave. And then the way that Dan has the plans drafted, the back of we go up there. The back of the building would be facing due, I guess that's southeast.
Yes.
So the Chase Street residents would not be affected. And you can see there's a substantial amount. This is the Charles River watershed that's new Army Corps land. Should stop hitting the screen before it breaks. Pearl Street's to the north, and these are the most are the closest abutters. This one is the one that's shown on the plans that you're providing the arborvitae's along, just so you get the orientation of like
Okay.
how this is.
Both
Alright.
of those, both
Yeah.
of those houses.
So for the door, the overhead doors behind the building facing this way, it's gonna be a significant amount of Army Corps of Engineer land.
Okay,
That being said, we want to be cognizant too of noise and such, but just so you and everybody can see kind of
All right,
the
I thought-
orientation.
so they sort of moved the building. The first iteration?
It was a very differently shaped building
Yes.
in the first iteration. It was L-shaped and much larger.
Yeah.
What about snow management? Do you keep the snow on set or offset?
On site, we have lots of green space
Okay.
around. You can see we have snow storage designated here.
I
Like
couldn't tell.
classically, it's just windrowed all the way around the perimeter of the parking area.
And how about commercial vehicle access for deliveries and trash removal? And storage space?
We have a dumpster pad here.
Okay.
That'll be a fenced enclosed dumpster pad. And then, deliveries will be able to come around the back of the building. Make a delivery.
And have you had discussions with the fire department?
I haven't had any discussions with the fire department. I
Okay.
certainly can reach out to them.
All right. That's all I have right now.
Okay, so one of was a little concerned about possible fleets, truck fleets, van fleets, that's et cetera. Mentioning you could put 25,
Including the front parking.
including the front. And the intention is not to have a large van fleet.
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. The site's not big enough for that.
Yeah,
We
so
could craft some kind of condition.
I think that would get a lot of, that would be good to
Sure.
do something like that, just to alleviate any of the issues that might come along with that.
Okay.
If you recall, Mr. Chair, I forget which project it was on Maple Street, but I know
Yeah,
we did craft a decision specifically because of the limited footprint of the site, actually very similar to this. And if you recall, there were actually 3 conditions that were associated with that project where there was a prohibition on outdoor storage of materials and equipment. There was a restriction on the fleet vehicle storage because they also requested a parking reduction special permit, and that's common for the commercial sites such as this. And then we added a provision as well, just to further add a little bit of a belt and suspenders approach to the plan, just stating that no vehicles or deliveries or what other things, but essentially it couldn't impede fire apparatus maneuverability around the building. So that way you don't have somebody parking, fleet vehicles behind the building, next to the building and.
yes, outside storage was certainly an issue on something, so we don't wanna, is your intention to not have outdoor storage?
No, not of equipment or anything. There might be a van parked back there.
Yeah, no, the
No,
van's
but
fine, but
No,
outside
outside storage.
pallets of
No.
other things, and you'd be okay with the condition with
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay. We've heard over the other applications, the amount of water that flows in, and I like the hearing that no water from your site would flow out. Maybe you could give us a little bit of more on what your plans are as far as bringing in. You mentioned sands and things like that for the detention basin, how, maybe a little bit more on that tonight might be worth spending 5 minutes on, because that was one of the primary things with this lot, was that there was a lot of water that was flowing all over the place, and we kept hearing it every meeting we had.
Yeah, so the way we accommodate that is we design, these 2 basins are stormwater infiltration basins, right? So they're designed to hold a certain volume of water and then allow excess water to release slowly. And the way we model that is we model the existing condition and calculate the peak rate of runoff and the total volume of runoff in every design storm. And then we model the proposed condition where we're catching all the runoff from our building and from our paved areas, and we're running it through our stormwater infiltration basins. And a chunk of that gets infiltrated into the ground, and the rest of it is released very slowly. And the net result, as the stormwater report shows, is that in every single design storm, up to and including the 100-year design storm, there is a reduction in the peak rate of runoff and the total volume of runoff from the site. So we're reducing the amount of water that's discharging from the property when we finish the project. As far as sand is concerned, that's just when you have high groundwater, you have groundwater at like 2 feet below grade. We normally remove that 2 feet because it's loam and it's subsoil. So typically we take that out anyways. So when we do that, we're just putting back sand, just to make sure that the water that goes into the basin that's intended to infiltrate will be able to infiltrate right through the sand into the underlying soils, which are pretty good soils. They're not terrible soils. They're pretty good. They're loamy sand, and in the front they're sand. So
And the basins would basically, the water would go away in about 72 hours or so. I mean, how long would it, that's the goal, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
we design our stormwater basins so that we're not trying to trap tons and tons of water because we don't want them to hold water.
Just there's a lot of, I know.
Nobody wants them to hold water, so.
Rob, did you have a comment on?
Yeah, I was just actually just going to reiterate kind of what occurred on some of the previous applications, which
Yeah.
obviously it's a new application, it's different, and probably shouldn't base anything off of an old application, but just as a history lesson, if you recall, when I was sitting in that chair as the associate member many, many years ago, next to Mr. Trevino and his Tic Tacs in that chair, we were discussing when this was the L-shaped building, I think it was a 9-bay garage for some type of automotive use type thing. And one of I think the biggest issue I recall where there was the waiver for the stormwater management, which I was pretty outspoken about saying that it's really not uncommon to build basins and fill. I mean, that's very, very common. I imagine the town probably initiated that regulation because we've never really had a town engineer, and actually incorporating some of the design controls into the plan set to make sure that what the basin's functioning correctly infill. We just didn't really have those mechanisms. And, now it is a standard operating procedure. The big thing I thought, or the sticking point with the previous application and the waiver, was the way that the site layout was made. It really was maxing out every square inch of the site with impervious area. And when there was an impervious area, that's where you had your stormwater BMPs, best management practices. With the way that this is designed now, the footprint has shrunk significantly. I mean, there's probably what, a 40% reduction, would you say?
Yeah, it's a big reduction in yeah.
And with that, even the placement of the stormwater basins is a lot less significant than what was previously submitted. But with the peak rate attenuation, I recall that pre and post development, it was very, very close. I mean, they were just meeting the cusp of making sure that pre and post development peak rates were below pre-development, which is per the regulations. One thing that I noted during that application was for the stormwater designs, the construction details, was to note that I called out native materials to be placed underneath the bottom of the basins, so the models were correct. With Dan putting in sand, it actually works much better because it's a higher infiltration rate than the native soils. As Dan mentioned, it's loamy sands, which infiltrate less than sands. So that's a pretty good belt and suspenders approach. And I'm just giving you my feedback because I know from the technical standpoint, I can give
It's always
that.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just from the waiver request, I just wanted to clarify that, because I do, Dan, you're correct. This was a heavily, I don't want to say it was heavily contested, because I think with the previous application, at least my biggest concern was the layout of the building and access. And then, secondarily, the waiver for the stormwater treatment, it was a little bit difficult to contemplate granting a waiver where or you think that the impervious layout of the building doesn't really work. It should be reduced. And this waiver is allowing for the increased impervious area in the layout, so. Anyway,
As I recall, that was the sticking point.
yeah.
Substantial.
Correct, and I'm happy that, the applicant's engineer and the applicant who's here, if you recall, Moshi. So, I think, this layout is far superior and seems to meet the restraints of the land a lot better than what was previously contemplated, so. And with that, I'd recommend, sending this to peer review. We have the peer review proposal in, we just need to initiate, so.
Okay.
That's my spiel.
I have one question. Notifying of neighbors, has that been done in accordance?
Yeah, I think, what was it, last week you submitted the green cards?
I brought the green cards in last,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, any other topics you want to bring up tonight?
Not from me.
I would ask the audience that's seeing a no, and you've got a representative here in case you wanted to make a comment, but all right, so then we're looking to send to peer review.
Yep.
What type of time frame would be reasonable, Rob?
The peer reviewer has been pretty good getting info back now. So December 11th, I assume the best thing would be get the peer review back, give you an opportunity to respond, and
Agreed.
then come back with the response.
Yes.
So, I would say I would go no earlier than the second meeting in January, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with either January 22nd or the first meeting in February, whichever.
I mean, if all you're doing with the first meeting in February is adding more of a safety net, so, and I can, try to expedite the peer review as quick as possible. Who knows, you might be able to respond and get another letter
Yeah, I mean, if we get a peer review before Christmas, we'll certainly have a response turned around well before the 22nd.
okay. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Christmas is coming quick.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Tell me about
Maybe
it.
for
Yeah.
now, maybe
I think the 12th is appropriate in February.
in fact, I think if that's okay.
Does that work with you, Dan and Moshi?
It's okay with me.
Okay.
I don't want
Right.
Step on your toe.
No, I'm hearing
And then
the applicant. And
That's fine.
thanks.
the decision deadline right now is the 20th of this month, so we're gonna have to extend that out. Is it all right if I move that out to the end of March?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Okay.
So March 31st. 6 is the decision date, and then. Oh, what did we say? So February 12th. All right, so I guess, motion to continue the public hearing to February 12th, 2026.
Me okay or motion?
Yeah, you're fine. Fine.
And I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
second.
Made by Liz, seconded by Bill. Start the vote, Steve.
Levi?
Liz, I.
Bill, I.
Bill, aye. This is 4-0.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Enjoy your holiday.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
And
Thank you,
just
sir.
want to say that we intend to cooperate and to please, and so it was a win-win for everyone. I just hope you understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Moshi. All right.
All right, so
Onward and
we've
upward.
got some other business on the agenda. Where would you like to go? What?
Let's, let me roll through this quickly. How does that sound?
Pick a topic. What topic would you like to go to?
Let's do the A and R first.
For $20.
Yeah. Give me one, let me pull it up.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is that A&R Plan Whitman Circle. For those of you who may not be familiar with Whitman Circle, you should be. Whitman Circle is the name of the cul-de-sac for the 5 triplexes on the corner of North and Blackstone Street. Now. Here, for a minute. If you recall from the planning board hearings, that land had significant natural heritage restrictions on it, meaning that there's. I think it was turtles, because they needed to do a turtle protection plan with the Conservation Commission. So with that, since there's natural heritage with a priority habitat on site, there's conservation restrictions associated with it. And there already is a conservation restriction on this lot. But what I think they are doing, because this is gonna be a condo association, they're putting the lot by itself into a conservation restriction and separating it from lot 1, which will be the triplexes. So that's just to clean things up from a natural heritage standpoint, and they approved the request. And I know this was also submitted to Hannah Chase, our conservation agent, who was the one who was coordinating with natural heritage to make sure that this is in line with their plan. So it's not a buildable lot. It's just, it has a conservation restriction on it. It's more from a legal standpoint. So I recommend endorsing the plan. I have the A&R here.
This is on our own, breaks out lot 1, but it breaks out the other ones as well.
Yeah, so lot 1 is, just to show you where my cursor is, this is lot 1. This is where the 5 triplexes and the cul-de-sac, the stormwater management basins, and the septic systems are all gonna be in. And then around it, this back area, this big wetlands, that is all what is in the current conservation restriction, which is listed here on that lot too. So pretty straightforward.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay, is any, before the motion's made, is there any other concerns,
Sure.
any questions? No? Okay, please put your motion.
Entirely recommended from you. Conservation seems to make sense to me.
Good. So the motion's made by Bill to approve this A&R. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Liz. We'll start the vote again. Steve?
Steve, I.
Liz, I.
Bill, I.
Bill, aye. And let's 4-0 approve. So we'll sign at the end of the meeting, Rob?
Yep, yeah, I'll pull it over here.
Okay.
Sharpies out. So that's the first thing. The
Okay.
next thing, there's actually a clerical error on this A&R, I mean, the next item, but on the agenda, it's not the Snet Trail bond, it's actually the Whitman Circle bond, which isn't an issue. It's a bond. So if you recall, you folks, I think you voted on the revisions to the Form J. When was that? Like a few months ago, I think, which was the new bond estimates. And this is actually the first bond that you folks are going to be voting on with the new numbers. This has worked really well. Essentially what we did, the applicant ended up going through their quantity takeoffs, put it into our new Form J. DPW reviewed it and reviewed the plans and came up with a number. And even better, let me pull this up actually on the screen. If you recall, I think the last bond that the board voted on was the Harmony subdivision, which, if I recall correctly, the largest bond that was voted on, which I think was like phase 1, which was the main road cutting through the subdivision, which was, it was a significant road. I think it's a 30-foot wide road and it's pretty long. And I think with the 2015 bond estimates, that was like around $1 million, which is really low. We fixed that, which was good. And Whitman Circle, I think, is like 500 feet long cul-de-sac. It's a private roadway. And just to explain to you what the new bond estimate is, that came in with the contingencies at 1.4 million. So this is good because
Covers the
whole-
cost of what it would be if we had to get involved.
exactly, and we don't want
We don't want to
to
involve-
paint ourselves into a corner. We don't want to do that, but
Yeah,
if you need to, the money's there. So
Well done, Ron.
this is really good news in my opinion. So this was recommended by DPW. It's actually signed off by Barry LaRiviere, who's the DPW project manager. So I would recommend that the board approve the guarantee price estimate for Whitman Circle in the value of $1,460,000, 1.46 million and $16. Sorry, that was really choppy. It's late.
Are there any questions? Okay, then you entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by? Second by Steve. Then we'll vote, starting with Steve. Steve, aye.
Liz,
Bill,
Bill, aye. That passes, or is it?
All right, the other general business item is related to the Form J again. And this was actually a pretty interesting item that we pulled out. So if you look at, this is the Form J that was for Whitman Circle that you just voted on. At the bottom, we put in red because this is an issue with certain elements when you are accepting roads at town meeting. Typically, once the road is constructed and inspected, the developer wants the bond back. I mean, it's a lot of money, 1.46 million. The way that our subdivision regs read is that you can only go down to a minimum or a maximum reduction of 20% of the surety. And in order to get that last 20% released, the roadway has to either be accepted or the infrastructure needs to be in place for 2 years. However, that's this section 245-19 of the Bellingham subdivision regs, which is listed at the bottom. Upon further review, there's actually another section of our subdivision regs that goes further with the surety when it explains who needs to hold the surety. And it further explains that, back here. It further explains that in order to get the full release, you need to have your infrastructure in place for 2 years, or the roads need to be accepted, or section 245-8 explicitly states that the roadway needs to be in place for 3 years after the final inspection of the road. So 2 years for the infrastructure, 3 years for the actual road. So the 3 years is actually the real big number here in case somebody wants to try to get that last 20% out.
Does that inspection cover all the requirements that you would need to make it a public road?
Yes, so what would happen is,
Okay, so they could have 3 years of it being complete, up to spec, able to vote at the town meeting because it meets all the requirements.
correct, and we're having this issue right now. I'm not gonna get into details of what development this is. And luckily, it doesn't actually involve the planning board because it's not a planning board project. But essentially, a developer, when they build the road, they'll get the inspection done. They'll submit an as-built. That's what the DPW looks at to review the roadway and make sure that it matches the plans that were. At some point, they'll get the 80% reduction and then they could walk away. They could say, we're done, it's up to the homeowners to take care of the roadway because there's issues with the street acceptance. And furthermore, the town has no obligation to accept any streets, even if it is perfectly fine. It's a town meeting vote. So there's no guarantee that it'll be accepted. So if the developer says, well, I'm walking away, give me that 20% back. Well, now we have to revert to the subdivision regs to say, can we even give it back? And that's where this whole 3-year cap is. Unless it gets accepted, the roadway has to be in place for 3 years. So what I did was I just did a quick tweak. I'm trying to get you guys educated on how this works. I did a tweak to the Form J where now we list at the bottom, it's per section 245-8 and 245-19. That's it. It's a simple modification, and I'd ask for you guys to vote on that so I can get it up on the website.
Does Form J now look back at roads that have not been accepting it?
Yeah, so this is more of just, so this is a planning board document. So any changes that I make to it needs to be approved by the board. If I don't include that in there, it doesn't matter. It's already in the regulations. The whole
Okay.
point of this is, if, tomorrow Rob, gets ousted as town planner and a new town planner comes in, or Barry LaRiviere is no longer project manager because he and I have been the ones like really honing in on this fix or the Form J. We want to make sure that, whoever comes in after us can look at the document and say, oh, so yeah, here's the regulations regarding why you can't go beyond the 20%. That's all. And it's for you guys too, in case somebody comes in and starts asking you for a reduction and you say, nah, it's section 245-8 and 245-19 in the Bellingham subdivision regs. I don't know where the Bellingham subdivision regs are on the website, but it's in there.
Right at the bottom of the form. See
Yeah, exactly. So that's,
It's in red.
it's in red, so it's important.
All right, this is, part of the our procedural rules as well. right?
It's actually part of the subdivision regs, so Form J is an attachment to the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
But it gets used for projects that are private as well, and 40B projects.
Excellent. All right, so you're looking for a vote.
I'm looking for a vote, and it would just be a motion to accept the changes to the Form J.
Is there any questions before the,
I have no,
okay? And I'll take a vote.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, to approve. And a second by Steve. And Steve, would you like to place the first vote?
Liz, I.
Bill, I.
Bill, aye. So that gets approved 4-0. So we got meeting minutes. Is there anything else?
Yeah, if you want to do the meeting minutes, and I'll just close out with just a couple quick updates, and that's it.
All right. So we've got two sets of meeting minutes, one for November 13th and the other one for November 20th. I don't know if there were any concerns on that.
Were you gonna change Marty's name
Martin.
to Martin?
I did see that in some places.
I just didn't know where you're gonna, top.
Wasn't going to.
Huh?
If you want me to, I can.
I thought he had requested it.
Did he?
He said something.
He did.
All right. Yeah, it probably should be correct. Just like how it used to be Liz on everything.
No, I mean, it's preferable, but not my government name.
Yeah, is the double spacing okay? I'm sorry.
I've broken multiple people of that habit recently, so
I didn't even know that was a thing.
it's from the typewriter era.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yes, it is.
All right.
So I will change Marty to Martin Roach. Sir, Martin Roach.
So Martin.
These ones are pretty straightforward.
I thought they were.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no other concerns, I would entertain a motion to approve both the November 20th, 2025 and the November 13th, 2025 meeting minutes
As amended.
as amended. Or do you want to do them separate?
Technically, shouldn't we do separate motions?
No, you can do them as one,
Okay,
fine,
all right.
yeah, they're minutes.
I'll move.
Okay, so move to approve both as amended and we have a second. Second by Bill. Made by Liz. All right, then we'll start the vote. We'll change things up and start voting, Bill. Bill, you vote, we change it up and you can vote first.
Yes,
Bill, aye.
not used to it.
Don't-
Liz, aye.
Then Phil, aye.
Bill, I excuse.
Oh, so it passes 4-0. So we're good there, and you had some updates.
Yeah, so I know it's listed on the agenda that the next meeting is January 15th, so, you know, everyone have a great holiday season, and, you know, try to get some time off. This has been a very, 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 busy year, I think, for everybody, so, especially with this board, with special meetings left and right, so your efforts are appreciated, and I thank you all for what you do. I know that you don't get thanks all the time, so, you know, I appreciate everybody's willingness to work, you know, in a collective and cohesive manner, so. With that, we can talk about the special meeting, a night that you all get to lose again, which is next Monday night. If you can attend, there's a joint meeting with the select board for the associate member position. That application was forwarded to everybody, so, you know, if you have a chance to review, he'll be at the meeting to take, you know, any questions that the board might have. You know, we've all been through it before, so, there's that. The other thing just to note for that meeting, it actually is pretty timely that we have a joint meeting with the select board. Not so much because there needs to be any planning board input, but there are some other planning board-ish related items that are going to be on that agenda. There's one that's not really related to the planning board, but a potential development on Depot Street that is planning to be discussed. That one that's not planning, would probably be ZBA related. There's also, I believe, there's going to be a discussion related to the large Hartford Ave tip project from the plazas, intersection all the way to the Medway Town line, I believe, is the plan. And then there's also, I need to confirm if this is actually, it's on the agenda right now as a placeholder. I don't know if it's actually going to be discussed, but there's also the plan to give the select board the update on our Hartford Ave application for the Meehan Group's application related to the Cedar Hill Road modifications, just to kind of get them up to speed since it's ultimately going to be a vote. Obviously, we're not there yet. They need to do some homework, but you know, in order to get to the finish line, there's gonna have to be some pretty significant work involved for the analysis of that intersection, and they're willing to do it, but you know, they need to make sure that the select board at least has a preliminary, you know, support to do this before they you know, dump this money and effort into looking at options. But that's the update. So the 15th, I think, is actually going to be a pretty interesting meeting with the select board. So just wanted to give you that update. With that, I'm done talking.
Thank you for all you do,
Yeah,
leading us.
Oh, thank you.
So
it's been a long year for you.
we appreciate your service.
Really has. 2025 has been rough, but I appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to end our meeting. So moved.
Second,
Made by Steve, seconded by Liz. Steve, would you like to say Eli?
Liz, aye.
Bill, I?
Bill, aye. Then we'll pass this Or zip, and we're,
Happy
done for the
holiday.
year.
Yeah, we are adjourned.
Or maybe not, will not be a joint meeting next week, so
Yeah, well,
we're technically not done.
we're done for the year. I'm done for the year.
We will pick it up another